We got 6 different news stories I've got to share with you guys from around the world. It's time for an episode of the World's Newsround. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with another episode of the World's Newsround. And we start with an article from Al Jazeera with the headline that Hungary's ruling party boycotts parliament session on Sweden's NATO bid. Hungary is the only NATO member yet to approve Sweden's assertion to the military alliance. So we already know that Viktor Orban has been and Hungary have been a massive headache for the European Union. And now they're becoming a massive headache for NATO. Obviously, we know that there are connections between Viktor Orban, Hungary, and Russia. We know that there's a relationship there. But we also know that Viktor Orban has been holding out for concessions as well when it came to relief aid coming to Ukraine. The EU finally got approval for that, for a package for Ukraine, a $500 billion package to Ukraine, which is really, really good. And Hungary obviously basically are claiming that they're not paying a penny for it, and they're not going to be, and then whatnot, trying to make out like we made concessions, all this kind of stuff, when really it's just a case of just holding it out, taking things longer than needed to be. What's the angle here? What's holding up Sweden's assertion to the military alliance? So what leverage is he trying to get here from NATO as opposed to the EU here? I think is a question that I'm kind of trying to tinker around my head, because once again he's not helping anyone. All he's doing is just frustrating the bodies. It's a stain becoming on Europe is what he is becoming. Now some people have said, some people have told me in comments and whatnot that he's becoming quite unpopular in Hungary. I'm not going to jump on that just yet. I'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see. But things are not very positive when we think of Hungary, unfortunately. With this man running things, just too many. Is just too many problems with this man, and he's not going away anytime soon, guys. So lawmakers from Hungary's ruling party have boycotted an emergency parliament session in which to vote on Sweden's bid to join NATO was on the agenda. At Monday's session, which was supported by 6 opposition parties, the first lawmakers didn't attend, scattering the attempts to place a vote on the National Assembly's schedule. Oh dear. Turkey's parliament voted to approve Sweden's assertion in January, making Hungary the last of the world's largest military alliance, 31 members, not to do so. Yeah, Turkey was very much. I remember Turkey being very much quite bit iffy about it as well, but eventually they did join NATO. They did approve of it. The Turkish Parliament. They finally backed it. Turkey were kind of sitting on the fence on this as well, because the thing is with Turkey, to kind of just help people in terms of context, Turkey is kind of in between because of where it is geography, but its also leader is very kind of like the middleman between Russia and the West, sort of thing at times. Seems to have they always seem to have the president there seems to always have this balance between the two nations. But it's not a case of always democracy in terms of Turkey, because it's not always like that. But he is very popular, the Turkish president. One thing, he's been in that slot for a long time. Sweden has pursued a policy of military non-alignment since the Cold War. However, Russia's full-scale invasion of its neighbour Ukraine in 2022 has caused upheaval in geopolitical calculations, and Stockholm applied to become a NATO member that same year. Hungary has maintained its close ties with Russia since its invasion of Ukraine, and while it says it supports the Swedish bid in principle, Budapest has been dragging its feet for months. The Prime Minister Viktor Orban told NATO's Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg last month they would urge his Fritz party to ratify the bid at the first possible opportunity. On Friday, the United States Embassy reminded Orban in a statement that he promised to act at the first opportunity, and Monday's sessions provided him with one. Several ambassadors from NATO members countries attended Monday's proceeding, including US Ambassador Dave Pressman. In a brief comments to the media after the session, Pressman said the US looked forward to watching this closely and to Hungary acting expeditiously. Sweden's NATO accession is an issue that directly affects the United States' national security and affects the security of our alliance as a whole, he said, reminding Orbán of his pledge. Orbán is delaying the vote due to his personal vanity. Avdiivka from the biggest opposition party told the Agence France Presse news agency. She accused the Prime Minister of seeking to make headlines in the international press while making a gesture to Russian President Vladimir Putin by undermining the unity of NATO and the EU. In a separate statement, US Senator Ben Cardin, a Maryland Democrat and chairperson of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, raised the prospects of imposing sanctions on Hungary for its conduct and called Orbán the least reliable member of NATO. Yeah, I think we can call him one of the least reliable members on NATO. I think that's a given the situation that it is. Like, they just want to, like, you said first opportunity. Well, here's your first opportunity. Oh, you're not doing it now. Okay. Well, why did you scream and shout about it? You know. Hungarian officials have indicated that Fritz lawmakers won't support holding a vote on Sweden's NATO bid until the Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson accepts an invitation by Orbán to visit Budapest to negotiate the matter. What does he need to negotiate? Kristersson said he will make the trip, but only after Hungary approves his country's NATO membership. Fritz said in a statement on Monday that ratification of Sweden's NATO accession can take place during a regular season of Parliament, but we're expecting the Swedish Prime Minister to visit Hungary first. Why does that matter? Sorry, what does it matter that he needs to visit? Is a phone call or a Zoom call not enough to have these conversations? Like, what's Hungary holding out for, you know? If this is an important issue for the Swedish Prime Minister will obviously come to Budapest, the party said. Hungary's National Assembly is scheduled to reconvene on February 26, and ratification could take place quickly once it has received Orbán's approval. I just okay, but like for me, it's like, okay, what are you waiting for? What's like? There's no specifics here of what the reason why you don't want to do it. Like you said, you wanted to be in the first opportunity. You wanted to get it approved. Yeah, money grabbing headlines is what Viktor Orbán is seems to, and his party seem to be doing. And yeah, it's just kind of like, okay, like, you know. And now he's saying that he wants them to come visit the party, to have to come visit the country so he could talk to him. And I'm just like, well, so what discussions have you guys been making behind closed doors that are different from having an in-person discussion? You know, maybe there's obviously more to this than perhaps I know, but maybe you guys have something more to it than I know. So maybe you guys let me know in the comments section down below. Okay, this next one, guys, is from India. It's also from CNN, this one. So, Modi's divine India threatens to marginalize millions. So, as you guys know, may or may not have known, Modi has been looking to obviously divide India, and it definitely seems to be going that way. And I do fear for other religious communities that are in India. There's definitely, it's definitely going down a dangerous path, and Modi is becoming more and more dangerous. We know that one thing that the world is kind of turning a blind eye to it, I feel as well, simply because of India's economy, India's population, and it is one that many people around the world want to have trade deals with. They want to have trade deals with our country, the United Kingdom included. And what's happening there with regards to Muslims and any other minority religions. I've had a video a while back about the Sikhs and about how they have potentially are targeted by this government as well. The way that they are being treated, I wouldn't say it's nothing like what's happening with Israel and Gaza, but it certainly feels like it's going down this path of one religion, one nation sort of thing, and it's not there yet. I would say India. I know the vast majority are one religion, but it's just yeah, I don't like this at all. And we've spoken about India's problems already. The conversation of the controversial Hindu temple symbolizes a semantic shift from India's sectarian founding values, analysis said, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi disregards norms separating religion from the state in his push to win a race to win third term this year. Yeah, that temple he set up really did cause a lot of controversy. Lots of opposition parties did not attend. They said, claimed that this controversial temple that was on sacred grounds that they built. Um, it was felt like by opposition parties and people that it was an attempt to basically just to woo people to support him, basically, to so, rather than a case of for actually India, more for his party and his power. Modi presided over a lavish opening ceremony last month at the Ram Janmabhoomi Mandir in the sacred town of Alihia, fulfilling a long-standing promise to voters that helped propel him and his Hindu nationalist brotherhood Janga Party (BJP) in power in 2014. Today is the beginning of a new time cycle, Modi said at the new temple honouring Hindu Dalai Lama Ram. After centuries of waiting, our Ram has arrived. Modi's idea of a divine India is a far cry from the ideas of a modern country's founding fathers. During nearly a decade in power, the Prime Minister has enveloped himself in the language of religion in pursuit of the Hindu nationalist agenda, isolating the millions among India's sizable religious minorities. That's, yeah, as I said, guys. There's a lot of other religious minorities out. Not just obviously more is in Hindu than other religions, but those are being treated well. I wouldn't go as far as say treated differently, but they're certainly not being looked at. Their concerns and well-beings are certainly not being looked at. This moment is both culmination of a political project that has been 100 years in the making and a new departure for India, no longer a senator republic, said political scientist Jan Valters, a senior fellow at the Centre for Policy Research in New Delhi. India becomes a de facto Hindu nation, where the task of building national Hindu religious symbols falls to the state, and which its leaders officiate simultaneously as Prime Minister and head priest for the country. The Ram Janmabhoomi Mandir stands on the site of the Babri Masjid, a 16th century mosque that was destroyed by hardline Hindus in 1992, setting off a wave of deadly sectarian violence that is not seen in India since its bloody 1947 partition. The temple's inauguration was attended by thousands of hand-picked guests, including cricket legend Sachin Tendulkar and billionaire industrialist Mukesh Ambani, and streamed live to millions across the country. In Alorissa, billboards celebrated the temple's opening, featuring an image of Hindu Ram alongside Modi's face. The leader of his BNP even dubbed the Prime Minister the King of Gods. See, the history is only going to upset those of the past as well. It's really quite sad. I understand that the party is a space of one religion, but when you're a leader while I may not understand about Indian politics, what I do know is that one religion is dominating all the others here, of the others that have been here already. And my fear is that they will be in the short to long term, they may be pushed out of the country simply because of their different beliefs, that they don't believe in Hinduism, and that's my fear. This sectarianation, as a means to drive themselves to more power, it's not good. Modi fasted for 11 days in a purification ritual before the event and visit temples across the country performing custom sacrifices to India's majority faith. The public called himself an instrument of Lord Ram, atoning by the divine to represent all the people of India. Well, what about the minorities if you say all people? At the concentration, Modi presided over the Pran Purishka and the unveiling of the much-anticipated Ram idol, taking on the role of typical reserve for priests. The move is well received in most quarters, with his supporters praising the leader's actions. But for some Hindus, Modi's action represents a betrayal of their religion for political capital. This is exactly how I see it. This obviously is an electoral stunt. It should not be happening in the name of any faith, said Indian-American activist Surita Vaskara and a member of the US-based Hindus for Human Rights group in a statement a day before the temple's opening. Modi is not a priest, so leading this ceremony for political gain is both technically and morally wrong. This weaponization of our religious temple is what's left of India's cellular democratic values. Yet, in blurring the lines between state and religion, Modi has achieved what his predecessors were unable to do, analysis said. Much of this is about solidifying his image in India as someone who is deviant, someone who delivers on his promises. And foreign policy editor-in-chief and former CNN New Delhi bureau chief Ranji Ari. And by the way, if I mispronounce any of the names, I do apologise in advance. This is a very popular move, and while it's being criticised, it remains popular in a country that is 80% Hindu. Yeah, we have to remember that like I said, the vast majority are Hindu. So, and it will woo people because in their religious beliefs. But those who aren't Hindu, they're going to be treated indifferently, almost as far as second-class citizens. I wouldn't go that far yet, but they'll certainly go down that road because that's what it looks like. Modi rose to power in 2014 with his pledge to reform India's economy and usher in a new era of development. But he has also heavily pushed a Hindu-Rila agenda, an ideology that believes India should become a land for Hindus. When he stood for re-election in 2019, Modi's Hindu-Rila policy became more brazen, according to analysis. A few months after winning, he announced he was stripping the statehood of India's Muslim-only majority territory, Jammu and Kashmir, and turning it into two union territories while bringing it under federal control. Later that year, his government passed a controversial citizen law considered many to be discriminatory against Muslims, and he reiterated his party's desire to build a Ram temple on the concentrated holy site. Many Hindus believe Babri Masjid was built on the ruins of a Hindu temple, allegedly destroyed in 1528 by Babur, the first Mongol temple of South Asia. For years they've rallied to tear down the mosque and make way for a temple. The dispute reached its climax in 1992, spurred on by the BJP and right-wing groups. Hindu hardliners attacked the mosque, triggering widespread communal violence that killed more than 2,000 people nationwide. In a victory for Modi and his supporters, India's Supreme Court in 2019 granted Hindus permission to build the temple, ending a decade-long dispute, but dealing a blow to millions of Muslims who fear that religious divisions are becoming more pronounced under Modi's BJP government. The Indian government denies it is discriminating against minorities, but analysis says last week festivities have only embroiled right-wing Hindus to act with impunity against minorities. And this is the thing, it's going to only increase those tensions. It's only going to increase them. Communal tensions rose in western Mashriqan states with 3 reported altercations between Hindus and Muslims, according to local police. In a separate incident in central Madhya Pradesh state, a group of right-wing Hindus was seen placing saffron flags on top of a Christian church. The colour is closely associated with Hinduism. India has become more majority. India has become more nationalist. India has become more pro-Hindu, Awani has said. This is partly due to the government's ability to point to India's history and the wrongs they precede India to have faced. Assuming power nearly a decade ago, Modi has positioned himself as a disruptor of India's colonial legacy, often in speeches marked by emotive language. He has emphasised the need to liberate India from the slave mindset, making steps to steer the country away from what the government has called the versatiles of British rule. Similarity, Modi has also made comments about India's erstwhile Islamic rulers, the Mughal who ruled much of the country from 1526 to 1858. Many hardline Hindus believe the era of that period of oppression under Muslim rule, a view that has also been echoed by some members of the BJP. See, because of things that may have happened 300 or so years ago, or well over 150 years ago, the knowledge and history of what's happened to a certain ethnic minority group is, if it can be used as a wield of a political tool and weaponization, you're going to use it as well. See, people will say that he's weaponizing his nation, his religion. Well, his group will argue, no. If you look at our history, this is the history here. He's doing this to protect his religion. is what the argument is, what he's making. And he's doing it to protect Hindu, to protect that religion. That's what his argument is. He's looking to protect that. But should it be at the case at the expense of other religions living in India? No, it should not. And that's where those of Christian, those of Muslim, their religious beliefs and that need to be still have some kind of protections. And that is where the term, you can't call India a democracy if it's not free and fair between all religious communities within India. And that's appearing not to be the case now as time passes on. Hindu groups for decades have claimed the Mongols destroyed Hindu temples, building mosques and other monuments in their place. Many of these cases are now being debated in courts across the country, and a move Indian liberals fear could spark further violence and disharmony. Yeah, this is the fear. Just this week, a court in the city of Houthis ruled that Hindus can pray inside the disputed Ganavati mosque, built by the former Maharaba Anarisku, purposely on the site of the destroyed Hindu temple, in another major religious dispute. Anarisku severed many heads and could not shake our faith, Moby said in a 2022 speech, referring to the ruler who died more than 3 centuries ago. As the country heads towards a national election expected to be held in April and May, the government sees itself as addressing these injustices, said Foreign Policy Awaldo. Gillies, the political scientist, said last week's display of Hindu nationalism at the Ram Temple shows the strength of the alliance between the BJP and India's business and cultural elites. The temple's inauguration is a dark day for India's religious minorities, he said. They have officially become second-class citizens. This is exactly what I was feared that it would happen. They would become second-class citizens, and I do fear for them. While I know the vast majority is of Hinduism, and I respect that, and while I may not know the full history behind it, and yes, I should do, and I should make some time to do so, and perhaps I will, doesn't change the fact that those minority religions should not be expunged because of past differences, shall we say. There is a way that the world can work together in harmony, but apparently this party does not see that. They see it as a means to, they see it as a political weapon. In my opinion, I believe they're using their religion as a weapon to enhance their power and to gain control. And Modi will be remembered as the man who basically will be a man as changing the nation. And any kind of democracy will slowly fade as time goes on because of this as well. Yeah, very concerning to say the least, guys. Right, let's move on, guys. Just before we do, if you can, hit the like button, be greatly appreciated, and share us across social media, so that really does help out. And subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers, guys. I would greatly appreciate it. So this next one, guys, is from Middle East Eye. The headline is how the Houthis mined commercial intelligence to sabotage global trade. The Yemen Houthis have used a combination of open source maritime intelligence and Iranian assistance to pinpoint maritime attacks, experts and officials have told the Middle Eastern Eye. So, as you guys know, as of right now, they are still successfully able to disrupt global trade within the Red Sea, the point of where ships go in through the Suez Canal up into mainland Europe without having to travel around the whole of the continent of Africa. That's the whole point of that trade route. But it's not only harming trade, obviously, to Europe. It is also harming those who rely on trade down that strafe itself. Certain countries in Africa also need the disruption stopped as well. There are one or two nations along that coastline who rely on trade that comes through there as well, and that's not helping them themselves. But the Houthis, for those who think that what they're doing is wrong, they also have a very credible point, and that is what's happening within Gaza, between Gaza and Israel, guys. As you guys know, it's been reported that over 12,000 Palestinian children have now died at the hands of the Israeli defense force, whether it's by war, whether it's by missile strikes, whether it's by dehydration, whether it's lack of food, many reasons of why many of them have died within the Gaza Strip, but that's how many have lost their lives since the October 7th attack committed by Hamas, and it was an atrocious attack by them, and nobody's taking that away from Hamas. However, considering the amounts of lives that have been lost in that Palestinian Gaza Strip, there is a time and a place here for things, and Israel and the way they are acting, specifically its government and its leader Benjamin Netanyahu, are going way too far. Too much lives are being lost, and the Houthis are trying to tell the West that you need to stop Israel, and you need to stop them from the atrocities that are being committed within the Gaza Strip. And instead of the West actually showing their might, which they clearly are not, the Americans and the British are actually attacking Houthis. The Houthis, or so-called Houdini rebels, as some people like to call them. Because the only reason why the Houthis are claiming to do this disruption here in the Red Sea is because they want a ceasefire called between Israel and Hamas. They want the bloodshed to stop. And America are showing no sign of doing this, and I think one of the other reasons why neither Americans or British are showing no sign of doing this as well, of changing their tactics, is of course both of them have elections. I don't think, just out of a point of view, just quickly on the Labour Party here in the UK, their population with regards to Muslim voters are wading with what's happening within the Gaza Strip. But there's also a lot of Americans who are also not happy with what's happening in the Gaza Strip as well. They are seeing, like a lot of people in Britain, they're not liking what Joe Biden, the way he's handling the situation as well. It is a bit of a cluster, really. But let's look at the Houthis and how they're able to keep doing this, because they've had a lot of bombings in their controlled area of the nation by lots of airstrikes and that. But yet they're still able to cause disruption. So despite the fact that there are many ships and many military forces trying to stop them from doing it, they're still able to cause a lot of trouble. And I do apologise if the text is really small. I can't make it any bigger, guys, but hopefully you guys can read it along with me. So Houdini rebels in Yemen are tapping into troves of commercial available maritime intelligence to locate and attack vessels in the Red Sea, current and former Western defence officials and maritime experts have said. The Houdini's use of publicly available ship navigation data and other information that can be obtained with paid subscription on maritime intelligence sites. In an unprecedented case of an Iran-backed group deployed an open source information widely accessible in the West against the US and its allies. The Houdinis have shown with a computer and internet access, maybe with the help of VPN, just how much data is available in the maritime space. Corey Raskin, Chief Executive of Maritime Risks Advisory and Security Company Dreg Global, told Middle Eastern Eye. The Houdinis, once a mounting rebel group and who one lawmaker derided as goat herders, have capitalized to global prominence in their audience maritime drone and missile strikes, which they say are on behalf of besieged Palestinians in Gaza. Their attacks have disrupted global trade, rippling across continents, denying Egypt's Suez Canal revenue, and shutting Tesla and Volvo's factories in Europe. The US and UK have responded to the Houdini attacks with airstrikes, but have so far been an ineffective deterrent. The starting point for Houdini's attacks, Western defence officials and maritime intelligence tell the Middle Eastern Eye, is basic ship identification and navigation data from everyone from rookie social media snoops to starving journalists and powerful natives used to track vessels. The vessels pin their location via satellite transponders, known as Automatic Identification Systems, or AIS. Within AIS, signal the ship's location and route can be picked up. Sites like marine traffic provide AIS data, but can also be obtained with an antenna and home receiver, Raskin said. So it's very easy for them to pinpoint exactly where a ship is and where it's going to be, and how they can easily target it. And that's the key thing, that they can easily target it. Ships travelling through the Red Sea are communicating directly with the Houdinis via AIS. They are using the system to ping that they are travelling with an all-Chinese or even Turkish crew to disavow the Houdinis from attacking them. Others are saying they have no contact with Israel, hoping to avoid being targeted. Late last year, when Swan's Atlantic chemical tanker was attacked by the Houdini, the owner blamed marine traffic for incorrectly stating that their vessel was managed by an Israeli-linked company. Yeah. So this tweet here from Michelle Brockman said a Greek-owned Suez tanker landed with Russian oil said no contact Israel as it sails through the Red Sea. Their message is now more frequent to ship owners who are making transit with those can offset to Houdini attacks. Yeah, so some ships are managing to avoid getting attacked by Houdinis within there by trying to say that they are not going anywhere near Israel and they've got nothing to do with it. And they're simply just trying to go from A to B. However, regardless, some of them are still being targeted just to try and disrupt global trade. So even if they're not directly supporting or directly have any association with Israel, some of them are still being targeted by Houdinis. But the hope is that by stating that they're having no contact with Israel or having any connections to Israel, that they're not getting targeted. But some still do. The battle-hardened Houthis have carved out a de facto state in northeastern Yemen, where they control the capital Sangha and important port city of Houthis, which has a modest shipping industry before Yemen's civil war. They have been trained and armed by Hezbollah and Iran, US officials said. The head of Iran's operations in Yemen, Asuriska Shangi, a high-ranking commander in Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard, Quraysh forces based in Sana'a, according to the US. The chief of the Houdini naval forces, Mansour al-Sari, gained years of experience of overseeing attacks on vessels in the Red Sea when Houdinis were fighting a coalition of Arab states led by Saudi Arabia, according to the US. Saudi received extensive training in Iran. Of course, the Houdinis have demonstrated they are using basic public maritime information like AIS. Nikos Gerokoskos, a former Greek Special Forces officer and an expert on maritime security at Dalopos, told MEE. But to successfully launch their attacks, they need more. What they also have is access to information which isn't secret, but is hard to find. And you have to be in the business, in maritime intelligence, to know. You aren't finding it out there in the Yemeni desert. While public AIS data is a starting point for the Houdinis, free sites like marine traffic don't provide satellite tracking access, which the Houdinis would need to effectively target vessels. Michelle Wise Brockman, a senior shipping analyst, told at Lloyd's List Intelligence told MEE. Besides supplying the Houdinis with advanced ballistic missiles and cruise missile components, the US said that Tehran is providing Houdinis with real-time intelligence and expertise to launch their attacks. Until recently, Iran was believed to have a spy ship in the Red Sea that could help the Houdinis locate vessels, according to the tankerstracker.com. The vessel departs the Red Sea mid-January to return the Irani Bahrain Abbas port. How a ship finds itself on the Houdini's target list remains murky and at a point of debate in defense critics. Yeah, and like I said, some who have no connections whatsoever to Israel are getting targeted still. But it's any ones that have any connections to Israel in any way, shape, or form, they get targeted if they believe even a scent of knowledge that a ship is going to be. They will target it. One senior Western defense official with extensive experience watching the Houdini said Iran is probably relishing the fact that its ally is targeting certain ships and giving a pass to others, implementing a rudimentary form of maritime sanctions. Heavily sanctioned Iran has had to turn into a dark fleet of tankers to sell its oil. It's absolutely critical to the Iranians that Houdinis target the right vessels and don't target the wrong ones, the officials told MEE. Is that really the case? But the officials said that even Western intelligence agencies are unsure exactly who is picking targets. Without science-specific intelligence, the officials believe that Houdinis are collecting information on targets themselves with open-source data and radar, but the Iranians are providing checks after check after check. The US has focused its airstrikes on Houdini radar sites and drones in a bid to cripple their ability to track ships. But the Houdinis endured years of intense bombardment from Saudi-led military coalitions and operated nimbly with their gears on vehicles, according to a report by the Combining Terrorism Center at West Point. The Houdinis have a century-long sea fortification tradition to lean on. Raskin at Giles Global said that his firm has detected patterns of suspicious approach to vessels by small dhows. A few hours later, those same vessels come under attack. It's a textbook case of old-school visual reconnaissance, he said. In November, the Houdinis began targeting Israel-owned and operated ships in what they say was solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza. One of the first acts was a brazen seizure by helicopter of the Galaxy Leader, a Bahamas-flagged commercial vessel owned by Israel business tycoon Rami Ugar. yeah, essentially you got any, like I said, any connections to Israel, they're going to target if they believe it to be true. By early December, Israel ship owners and operators like Zim had all but given up on the Red Sea in search of more targets. The Houthis broadened their campaign to all ships simply visiting Israel. The Houthis attacked the Norwegian flagged Strenga after seeing that its chemical tanker was sent to visit the Israeli port of Ashdod on the port's website. Since the Biden administration began its air campaign, the Houthis said they will broadly target any ships linked to the US and the UK. Yeah, just making things worse really with this. The shipping industry is clouded in secrecy. Plighting goods on high seas is valued by nature a global business. A vessel can have owners, operators, and charters from different countries. Meanwhile, the ownership of a vessel can change multiple times a year and obscure behind layers of shell companies. Besides the name of the vessels, the Houdini officers' upper chain of command would want its IMO number, maritime experts have said. Yeah, it's really important to state this, that ships that are all these global trade ships, guys, it is, the crew can be of different, there's so many things. So there could be crew of a nationality like a Chinese, Vietnamese, or something like that, owned and run by, I don't know, an American, it could be an American company, but its owner could be from I don't know, Brazil. Like that's how, like, it's not just one ship, one nationality. There's so many factors into this, but like I said, anything that's any connections to Israel at all. So if there's a if there's Israeli staff on board, that might be a threat. If they are linked to, if they're on their way to Israel, they're going to target it if they believe it to be true. And like I said, and like it said in there, because one of them's tied to an Israeli businessman, they're going to target that. So any links whatsoever to Israel, they're going to target specifically if they believe believe it to be true. This is a unique 7-digit code that is written on the exterior of vessels and provides a paper trail on their activities, even with the IMO tracking down what the shipping industry calls beneficial owners, taking some level of skill. In the West, investigators and insurance companies use databases like Lloyd's List, which require a subscription that can cost thousands of dollars a year. Lloyd's List and even maritime traffic have a vetting process, and their sites can be difficult to access in Yemen and Iran, but experts said Iranian and Houdini intelligence could easily overturn this. If the Houdinis and Iran had access to intelligence from people from commercial shipping backgrounds, it would be relatively easy to determine beneficial ownership without relying on paywall information, Brookman told MEE. The US has said that the Houdinis are indiscriminately targeting ships in the Red Sea, but Dice Siebels, a maritime security expert at Risk Intelligence, a Danish risk firm assessment, said it was a political argument, not one that is backed up by the available evidence. The Houdinis have some collateral damage, but all in all, they have been pretty accurate, they told he said to Middle Eastern Eye. Last week, the Houdinis attacked a marine liner tanker, even though it was carrying refined Russian oil products. Underscoring the global nature of the shipping industry, the vessel is operated by a British company on behalf of commodities trading firm Trafigura, which is dominated by Singapore and run by an Australian CEO. Exactly. So you've got British, Australian, Russian, and Singapore all linked into this one ship. Other ships with no apparent links to Israel or even the US and UK have been struck. But the Houdinis themselves have publicly touted they will not target ships from China and Russia as long as the vessels are not connected with Israel. On Thursday, the IMF said container shipping through the Red Sea was down 30% compared before the Gaza war. Shipping giants Maersk and Harbin Lloyd have shunned the Red Sea in favour of longer journeys around Africa as a result of the Houdinis' attacks, although many vessels linked to Russia, China and the Arab states continue to transit. Lloyd's List said there were still 199 cargo vessels along the Red Sea last week. Energy industry experts tell MEE vessels carrying Russian oil are still transiting the Red Sea along those of Saudi Aramco. Major Chinese ship owner COSCO has detouted, but since the Houdinis attack started, new Chinese shipping lanes have sprung up advertising their transit through the Red Sea, with their port calls in Istanbul in Turkey and Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, in a bid to capitalise on the dearth of ships. So yeah, this could also open the door for other companies to take advantage, while some suffer as a result. So some companies who may have or may not have links to Israel are potentially suffering. So this is also shaking up the market of competition as well. Shipping companies and vessel owners are also chalking up handsome profits as a result of the attacks in the Middle East than I previously reported. By forcing vessels in the Middle East to trade to take longer journeys across Africa, the Houthis have reduced the supply of ships on the market and added on extra travel costs that can be passed on to consumers. The ship to a cost standard 40-foot container from Asia to Northern Europe has more than quadrupled, according to Zankia. The US has asked China to use its ties with Iran to try and rein in the Houthis. But on Thursday, US Defense Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said Washington has seen no visible evidence Beijing was doing so. The Iranians are very happy with the image the Houthis are creating of Russia and Chinese vessels being safe. Yeah, why would they want to do any kind of? Why would they want to do anything that would disrupt their relationship between China and Russia? They don't want to do that. So there's no actual benefit for them to do that in any way, shape, or form. But like I said, guys, I just think that they are specifically trying to target certain ships of certain companies that have any links to Israel. But as it said there in the report, it looks like they're obviously going to be targeting anything that's maybe related to the US and the UK as well, because the US and UK are obviously targeting them. Which, specifically as a English British citizen, don't really want a part of this, because I'm really not. I really don't like. For me, it's just a case of this doesn't have to happen, and what's happening in the Gaza Strip doesn't have to happen. If simply somebody stops Benjamin Netanyahu's government from doing the atrocities that they're doing, you will stop one thing if you stop the other thing, and it's like no, like they kind of like it's just against simple democracy here. It's so frustrating, guys. It really is. But yeah, the market's being torn up as a result of this anyway. But as of right now, they've not been able to stop the attacks. I think they've had now 2 to 3 strikes now, both the US and UK, and they're still able to cause disruption there. So what's next? You're going to put boots on the ground to try and stop it? So guys, I'm going to take a little break before we come back to the other, because we've got 3 more articles to go through, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little funny video, just to break things up. This is from Foil and Arms. Make sure you check out their YouTube channel, subscribe and whatnot. The title of the video is The Politically Correct PC Shop.
Darren, take a look at that for me, would you please?
Yeah, sure thing.
Hi.
Hi there, how can I help?
I'm looking for a coloured ink cartridge, please.
Excuse me?
I'm looking for a coloured ink cartridge.
You mean a black ink cartridge?
No, I already have a black ink cartridge. I'm looking for a...
Go on, say it!
Coloured ink cartridge.
Unbelievable. In this day and age?
What?
You know, even my grandmother doesn't use that backward term, and she's 95.
Okay then.
So what is it you're looking for?
A black ink cartridge?
Yeah, you are. They're in the basket.
Had a look at the computer. It's gonna need a new parent board.
Okay.
Parent board.
Keep saying the Wi-Fi adapter is disabled.
Ooh, that's strange. It should be saying the Wi-Fi adapter has a disability.
Yeah, no. I'll keep working on it.
Okay. Yeah, just pick the one that matches your printer model.
It doesn't say which is which.
We don't believe in labelling.
I can't tell them apart.
Oh, because they're all the same, are they?
Come on, I didn't say that. I've got ink all over my hands here. Well, why is there no packaging for this?
You just want to put everything in a nice little box, don't you?
You know what? I've had it with the PC Brigade.
Personal computer, political correctness is very important.
No one is denying it's important. I just resent it being rubbed in my face like I am some sort of bigot. What?
Doomed up. That was.
Oh dear. Hope you guys enjoyed that little funny breakup of little funny video there. They're so good, Foil and Arms, with these little random stuff, guys. You know, very, very cool stuff. Okay, let me just double check this before going. Guys, while you're here, just a reminder, if you can hit the like button, be greatly appreciated. Share it across social media so other people are notified of this video. And if you can hit the bell notification icon so you'll be notified when I upload another video. If you have it already on and you're not getting notifications, turn off your notifications and turn them back on. That might be the reason. And that goes for any other YouTube channel that you may be using, in case you're wondering why your notifications don't work. It's not something that YouTubers can control. It's something that the YouTube itself have an issue with. So if you have notifications and they don't work, turn your notifications off, turn them back on, and that should fix the problem, hopefully, for you guys. So this next one, guys, is we're going to be talking about the war in Ukraine. This is from the Kiev Post. The headline is Crisis in Critical Avdiivka Sector, Top Ukrainian Military Journalist Warns. Moscow says its troops are definitely winning in Avdiivka, and Kiev said its forces are killing the Kremlin soldiers left and right. The reality seems to be a battle that can still go either way. So, like, there are still many battles taking place within the Ukraine war, and we don't really talk. While I do talk with some short videos about small incidences that occur here and there, I don't really talk about what's actually happening on the battlefield specifically with them. So I thought I'd get one to see what's been happening on the battlefield itself. So let's read into it, see what's been happening over here, guys, specifically. So 2 leading independent Ukrainian military journalists on Sunday sounded warning bells over an intense Russia attacks against the embattled city of Avdiivka. Kremlin information platform says the assaults were proceeding well, whereas official Kiev sources reported defences were strong and holding. Avdiivka, a coal mining centre in the Donbass region and frontline city since Russia's first invasion of Ukraine in 2014, has been a target of intense and bloody Russian ground and air attacks since October. In recent months, the Kremlin appeared to shift tactics away from the frontal assault to attempts to encircle the city from the north. Georgy Buskos, an independent combat correspondent running Censor.net, one of Ukraine's widest read information platforms, in February the 4th personal blog comments said that Ukrainian lines around Avdiivka are near breaking because of the powerful advances of a number of the artillery shells and assault soldiers, as well as total Russian air superiority. Following weeks of attack, Russian troops have finally broken into built-up areas of the city, and hard-pressed Ukrainian units are weakening due to heavy loss and few reinforcements, he said. The situation is critical. The 110 Mezagai Bridge, as well as several attached units, are engaged in battles with enemies that are several times superior in strength, and is consistently applying fresh reinforcements to its infantry. Avdiivka urgently needs fresh reserves and rotation of units. Ammunition is also necessary. Supplies are extremely small. The enemy has a great advances in means of destruction, Buskos had reported. Buskos said Russian forces were suffering serious losses, but warned that unless Ukrainian troops holding out in the city were reinforced or replaced by stronger units, defences manned by exhausted Ukrainian troops could fall. Army's top command unwillingness to hear bad news, and mid-level commander hesitate to report deteriorating battle conditions to their bosses to make the problem worse, he said. Military correspondent Andriy Triskobisco, a high-profile reporter working for the mainstream 1+1 TV channel, in a Sunday Telegram post reported rapid deteriorating situation in Avdiivka. Today, according to my sources in Avdiivka, the situation in the city has become critical. Russian assault troops took advantage of a cloudy weather and the impossibility of high-quality aerial reconnaissance and entered the city from the northeast from the side of the Avdiivka quarry. They bypassed the Ukrainian battle formations and entrenched themselves in the building. This means they are hundreds of meters away from the main logistical artery of the Ukrainian defenders, Tavarisko said. The situation is not hopeless yet, the military is saying. There are infantry reserves with the experience of fighting in urban areas. The Russian breakthrough can still be eliminated, he said. The Ukrainian military on Monday was tight-lipped about battles in the Avdiivka sector. The morning situation estimated from the Army General Staff stated that in the past 24 hours, Kiev troops have repelled 31 ground attacks around the city and the neighbouring villages, Novoriska and Senegal villages. Kremlin associated sources in contrast claim Russia's assaults around Avdiivka were progressing well. In a February the 5th situation update, the popular pro-Kremlin blogger Dara Medka, 2 major reporters that Russian troops were advancing in both the north and south of Avdiivka and that Ukrainian defences were deteriorating. In the Avdiivka sector, the military forces are deploying successes. They have succeeded in taking AFU positions to the north near the filtration station, and they've advanced 1 kilometre to the Ukrainian rear area. Our troops have bypassed Blue Lake and have entered the build-up area of the city. The enemy considers the situation critical. To the south of Avdiivka, there are advances by our forward elements of several hundred metres near Spolstika and Stuboriska streets. And on the Avdiivka encirclement, our air force and artillery are considering carry out strikes, the popular mini-blogger told his 500,000 plus followers. The Russian blogger Azovsky Zusky on February the 4th wrote that the Ukrainian situation in the town was deteriorating under heavy Kremlin pressure. Avdiivka needs new Ukrainian reserves, and the troops from the 110th, that's the Ukrainian Mechanized Infantry Brigade, need to be routed out of combat. The AFU needs ammunition. Supplies are extremely limited. Russian Federation forces have a strong advance in firepower. Deep State, a Ukrainian military information platform tracking troop locations and line in contact movements since the outset of Russia's February 2022 invasion of Ukraine, said in a February the 5th article that intense combat was in progress and that Russian assaults were focused on the village of Novorossiysk, some 8 kilometers north of the city. Of the 66 Russian ground attacks identified across the entire fighting front, on Sunday, 27 Ukrainian drones hit Novorossiysk, the UNIAN news agency had reported. The objective of Russian assaults was to gain control of a key supply route delivering food and ammunition troops to Avdiivka, but roads to and from the city were still open, the report said. Yeah, this is the key thing. If they can cut off supplies to the city, then they can basically starve them out. That's one of the ways that was one of the great battles they've had in this war was obviously over Kherson, and they suffered immense amount of casualties to claim Kherson, Russia, but they still ended up losing it. They took it, and then they lost it later on in in the war. Whether or not there will be a rinse and repeat thing here with Avdiivka will be another matter. But if Russia are able to cut off the main supply routes, to it, they will lose the city. Ukraine, they will lose the city. They need to maintain the supply roads to them. Official Kiev approved reports that media were upbeat, telling of Ukrainian troops defeating multiple Russian attacks around Avdiivka and maintaining good morale. A February the 4th report by Ukrainian War News TV program My Ukraina described Avdiivka as the hottest sector on the front and reported that Russian forces had hit Ukrainian troops stationed there with airstrikes and chemical munitions, but Ukrainian defences were strong and unbroken. Images in the 4-minute news piece showed US-made heavy weapons operating near the front line, including a single M1A2 Amorous tank and multiple Bradley infantry fighting vehicles. Infantrymen interviewed from the 47th Mechanized Brigade credited US-made Bradley for enabling Ukrainian forces to hold their positions against Russian ground assaults and artillery attacks. A senior soldier identified in the TV report as Lenkin credited the American personal carrier fixed armor, maneuverability and powerful autocannon as linchpins in the Ukrainian defenses. Ukrainian defenses in the Avdiivka sector are strong but are not able to hold, he said. To civilians, I would say they shouldn't panic. Everything will be fine, Lingen told the camera team. Yeah, we're not 100% sure. Like, obviously, the majority of what Kiev Post are saying here is that it's not looking good, while obviously trying to play down prospects that things are actually doing well and doing strong. So I will say we're not 100% accurate on what's happening there. I'm just gonna have a quick look while I'm bringing that up, guys. I'm just gonna bring up something here. See if I can bring it up. The map on the ground, and because one of the things that me and Lee Korn did on the Snowflake show was have a deep state map of what's actually happening on the ground in real time. I'm just going to see if we can get that up for you guys. Give me 1 second here. So this is the deep state map. I'll put a link for this in the description if you guys want to have a look at this. So let's see, where's Avdiivka? So Avdiivka is here. Let me just zoom out. So this is updated. So it just says, just for convenience for people here, this is updated on the 5th. So that is yesterday at the time of this recording at 21:55. This is the latest reporting here. So if we just pull back a little bit here. So just to remind people, so obviously this is where the engagements are taking place, and the greens obviously are where have fought back here, as we can see. So, and I think it was Avdiivka. Yeah, so as you can see here, you can see here is pretty much surrounded here. So they're looking to try and cut off, if they can cut it off from here, and that's what they're looking to do. The city could very much fall. But yeah, Russia look like they're making quite some advances there. Buckmark obviously controlled by Russia, and they're looking to continue trying to push there as well. Obviously not too much happening up here. Pretty stable here, but Yeah, and looks like Russia are trying to make some advances there as well. So interesting to say the least, guys. There, yeah, not good. Is what I'll say. But obviously, what I'll try to do, maybe I'll try and bring up the map every week for you guys on the World Newsround, if you guys want me to do that, so we can have a look at where things are in terms of positions and that from the following week. I think that would be a good thing for us to try and get our heads around, because I do think it's important to know how Russia are progressing and where Ukraine is kind of currently holding. So yeah, it's doesn't look very good right now for Ukraine, I would say. You know, when is that when are they going to build another counter attack? Well, yeah, interesting to say the least. So guys, we are probably going to go a bit over time. As long as I don't hit an hour and a half, it'll be all right. So at the time when I drop this on. So this one obviously is from Associated Press, guys. So we're going to go from Ukraine to America. So this is about the border. So the Senate border bill, which would upend U.S. asylum with emergency limits and fast-track reviews. So one of the biggest gripes that has been taking place, one of the things that have been grips taking place. So like here in the UK, we've had this issue about immigration. We've also covered on the Snowflake Corner about the immigration bill within France. So there's also that been going on. Obviously, we hear about other conversations about immigration and migration in other parts of Europe as well. But there's also, obviously, we've talked in some parts as well on the channel about the immigration coming from South America, Latin America, up into Mexico and trying to cross the border into the United States. Now, the Senate, the Democrats have had this bill that the president wants to sign. This very strong bill that would actually help toughen up immigration and stronger borders along the Mexican-US border. But the reason why the Republicans actually want stronger borders, stronger controls and that. But the reason why they don't want to pass the bill is because, quite simply, they don't want to be seen helping out the Democrats in any way, shape or form. They would rather things get worse for the country rather than actually benefit and help the American people, which is kind of obscene. When considering that a lot of Americans right now are kind of angry with about how people are coming and crossing the border from Mexico into US right now. So this headline is obviously Senate border bill, which would upend the US asylum with emergency limits and fast track reviews. You would think that Republicans would be behind this, but because they are different political parties. And because if Trump tells them not to vote for something, they're not going to vote for it, which is, I know, it's silly, but yeah, apparently whatever he says goes whenever we talk about whatever goes on in America. So nearly every day since September, hundreds of migrants from China, Colombia, and other countries have wriggled through the openings in the border wall with Mexico and walked dirt trails to surrender to US agents and seek asylum. Some days, more than 1,000 arrive in the border-strewn mountains near San Diego alone. While they wait to be processed and given a court date, they live in tents and makeshift structures of tree branches and scattered campsites. These encampments would likely vanish under a Senate bill that would make sweeping changes to immigration laws, including allowing the Border Emergency Authority that would restrict asylum when arrests for illegally crossing hit certain thresholds. In addition to the Emergency Authority, the bill released Sunday aims to have asylum officers screen applicants within 90 days of their arrival in the country using a tougher standard. And for those who pass, decide cases within another 90 days. Cases would ideally be decided 6 months instead of 6 years, as are common in a court system backlog with more than 3 million cases. It would do so largely by spending $4 billion to hire more than 4,300 asylum officers who would take on the work now reserved for the immigration judges. The $118 billion bill, with combined security forces aid for Ukraine and Israel, faces opposition from Donald Trump and his allies. Why would Donald Trump be opposed to this, guys? Like I said, sorry, I'm trying not to sneeze. He doesn't want to be seen helping out the Democrats. That's the only reason. They consider it weak, and from some Democrats and progressives who think it would gut the asylum process at grave human costs if it overcome long odds. The legislation would rapidly upend how it handled its asylum is handled at the border. Asylum, once a policy and afterthought, is now the border's dominant challenge. Well, this is something. It's just like I said, it's just a topic that's not really going to go away. Overwhelmed border agents have been unable to quickly process surrendering migrants in Jahama's hot springs and elsewhere along the border, forcing them to wait outside for hours or days. In fierce winds on Friday, they rubbed their hands over small campfires and sat closer together to tents to generate body heat. Paramedics aided a young girl crying with high fever. I'm happy to have arrived here because I just want to achieve my biggest dreams, to be the biggest person and provide for my family, said Juan Anez Alves of Colombia, who reportedly getting robbed by authorities in Mexico. His advice to other migrants: if you're able to do it, then do it. The truth is that it isn't easy to get here. Mama Golby, 42, arrived in Jahama Hot Springs, a tiny border town east of San Diego, after crossing the border illegally in September. Like the vast majority of those arriving, he was quickly released with a court date after spending time in New York City's shelters. A church found a family to take him to Vermont. Things were difficult in the United States in the beginning. Golby, a former student prosecutor, said he faced government repression in his native Andala, said by phone Monday from Vermont. After getting accustomed, we will turn out well with God's help. He is due court on May the 5th. Samuel Schwartz, a volunteer who distributes food and other supplies to migrants in Jahama's hot springs, said he is perplexed to why US authorities don't allow people in at official land crossings free of risk of hypothermia because they are eventually released. They let them in anyway, he said. But under the Senate's legislation, asylum would be suspended from those who cross illegally, when arrests for illegal crossings average 5,000 per day over 7 days along the Mexico border, or 4,000 at the Homeland Security Department's discretion. The last month that daily arrests were below 5,000 was February 2021. Asylum would also be suspended if arrests top 5,800 in a single day. The border emergency authorities could be in effect no more than 270 days in its first year, 225 in its second year, and 180 in its third and final year. Unaccompanied children would be exempt. Biden administration officials acknowledged that Mexico's help would be critical for the new emergency powers, as it was during a public health emergency from March 2021 to May 2023. US authorities expelled those who crossed the border from Mexico and more than 2.7 million times during that time, denying rights to seek asylum on grounds of preventing the spread of COVID-19. The legislation would allow Homeland Security to continue to use humanitarian parole, including the Biden administration's policy by allowing up to 30,000 people a month from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela if they apply online with a financial sponsor and arrive at an airport. That's a lot for them to ask. It would allow 1,400 people to seek asylum daily at official land crossing with Mexico in a safe and orderly manner, even when a border emergency is in effect. That would effectively preserve an online appointment system introduced in January 2023 that allows up to 1,450 people to enter the United States each day at a land crossing. Now, I'm pretty sure I've covered the story on Snowflake Corner a while ago about something like this. But the thing is that how, like, some of these people don't have absolutely anything. So how are they going to access this? You know, especially those who don't have the access to the internet and whatnot. Not everybody can access this procurement. And apply online with a financial sponsor as well. And it's just like, and they have to put money in the way of people being able to apply. And the thing is that they can turn around and say that we have legal ways of people coming to America, and this is the way to do it. Whereas it's like, well, I don't have access to the internet. Well, that's not our problem. US authorities currently dole out about 400 appointments a day at the border crossing in San Diego under CBE-1, as the online system is named. Families line up in Tunisia and Mexico with suitcases and paperwork showing appointments at 5 a.m., 1 p.m. and 8 p.m. Many try for weeks or even months to land a time in the oversubscribed system. Marina Del Risca, 42, crossed the border in San Diego with his CBP-1 appointment in January 2023. Beginning an asylum case that would likely take years to decide, she came with her sister and her 8-year-old grandnephew, who was riding on the back of their father's motorcycle in the Honduran capital Teargas in 2019, when an assailant fatally shot his father. They fled after flooding destroyed their home. The Honduran woman lived in Chicago and Washington before settling in Fort Worth, Texas. Her next court date is January the 5th. God is with me, she said on Monday. Yeah, there's lots of cases here, guys. It's as you can see with the photos, it's a very rough time for these people. I'm not going to play the clip, but yeah, I mean it's they're like I can understand it. I can understand the reasons why Americans feel how they feel about the border. You know, I totally understand that because there are people here who feel that way about the crossings here. But we have to also remember that these are human beings with emotions and feelings, and their livelihoods could be destroyed, whether they could be politically targeted because of their ethnicity background, like the last family we just talked about, they lost their father and their home was destroyed by flooding. They have absolutely nothing. Where are they supposed to go? So, you know, with an opportunity to make something for themselves, and they want to make it here in America. So as long as they contribute to America and contribute to its economy, contribute to society, I'm not going to say open the floodgates, but I would say if there's reasonable grounds that they are actually going to contribute to America, there may be reasons to let them in. But however, not all of them are like that, as we well know. But it's a difficult situation for them, for the American authorities. But but that route of being able to legally apply for the United States, that's a bit of a problem there. So guys, got one more story for you guys. This one is from The Guardian. Guys, if you want to financially support me in the work I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. You get access to some special things if you become a member just for 99p, but you also get access if you decide to become a member for $2.99. You get access to all my early content, so you get it additionally early before anybody else if you decide to become a member there as well. You can also join me on Patreon for exclusive content on there as well, or on Rumble as well for exclusive content. I do some longer version videos on Rumble exclusively if you guys want to check them out as well. Links for all of them will be in the description. So last story you have is from The Guardian. Senegal, riot police fired tear gas to break up protests over postponed election. Mobile internet access has also been restricted as Parliament debates on a bill to extend Macky Sall's presidency. So what's this all about? So basically, the president basically declared that he's suspended the election, which is outrageous, pretty much. It's pretty much a case of suspending democratic rights of people being able to cast their vote. And understandably, the people are upset. I know there's a lot of corruption here in Senegal as well, but for a president to simply just say, yeah, I'm going to postpone the election due to certain circumstances that we'll read into in a moment, yeah, that's not democratic in any way, shape or form. I mean, it's just, yeah, not good at all. That's what this is mainly about, which is why these riots are taking place. Police fired tear gas to break up crowds to try and gather outside Senegal's National Assembly on Monday into protest against the president's abrupt postponement of elections over the weekend. As protesters shouted slogans, Parliament began debating a bill that would reschedule the 25th of February vote for 25th of August vote and extend Macky Sall's mandate as president until his successor is installed. Sall's unprecedented announcement on Saturday pitched the West African country into uncharted and constitutional waters after threatening to further tarnish its reputation as a bastion of democratic stability in a region swept by coups. What is the reason for pushing it back? What is the actual reason? What is the actual reason for pushing it back? They are trying to extend the president's term, which is illegal and not allowed, said Mohammed Membi, one of the protesters. Around 100 people gathered outside Parliament on Monday after confrontations on Sunday, chanting Macky Sall is a dictator. Police chased them onto the side streets and made arrests. Authorities temporarily restricted mobile internet access from Sunday night, citing hate messages on social media and threats to public order. Several schools sent pupils home early. The West Wolf television channel said it had been taken off air on Sunday and its license had been revoked. Media suppression too. Senegal has been known as a country with strong democracy, but this is no longer the case, said Dame. Another protester who gave his first name, the only thing we want is a fair election. He said it was worrying Sall would cling to power indefinitely. The African Union joined calls on Monday for regional bodies and Western governments for a new election date to be set as soon as possible. Sall said he had delayed the election because of a dispute over a candidate list and alleged corruption with the constitutional body that handled it. The opposition Senegal Democratic Party, the PDS, whose candidate was barred from running because of dual nationality issues, supports a delay and proposed a postponement bill in Parliament before Sall's announcement. So the opposition leader was already supporting a delay before he even announced it. Yeah, you can tell this is someone that intends to hold on to power. Others, however, reacted angrily. The F24 platform, a large group of civil society organisers behind past demonstrators and the opposition presidential candidate Khalif Sall, a former mayor of the capital, Dakar, called it an industrial coup. Some candidates said they would push ahead with the campaigns meant to begin over the weekend. Two, Khalif Sall and Ali Nuski, said they would challenge the postponement in court. At least 2 candidates were detained in police when riot gear broke up protests in Dakar on Sunday, firing tear gas and rounded up participants. Another was injured and taken to hospital, his team had said. The president's announcement and the outcry have raised fears over repeat of violent protesters have broken out over the past 3 years over concerns Macky Sall would run for a third term over the alleged political sidelining of opposition leader Omar Soko. The coming months will be uncertain. We do not think the police will be able to contain all popular anger, Oxford Economics said in a note. The postponement bill needs to be backed at a time of at least 3/5 of the National Assembly in order to pass. It could go through if the ruling party holds 49% of the seats and the opposition coalition that includes the PDS both vote for it, according to a Barclays analysis. Such a postponement could open the door for a subsequent postponement and allow the president to do many things, it said in a note. Many things. What many things are we talking about here specifically, guys? I think it's very shameful of Senegal's president to hold up. Is it entirely possible that some of his opposition candidates could be corrupt? Yes, it's entirely possible. I don't think that you can argue that. Is there credible evidence in order for everything to be postponed? I don't think you should, unless you provide that evidence right there and then. It just feels like it just stinks to me that the timing of him postponing it, the way it was done, did not seem right to me when I first heard this. I think he's just trying to hold on to power as well. I'm not saying that the opposition aren't corrupt. There's always corruption in some nations. We know that, but yeah, the people just want to have free and fair democratic elections, and I hope it doesn't get pushed back any more than what it's going to be. But we will keep an eye on it. That's for sure. Definitely have a keep. If not on here or Snowflake Corner or Schultz, I'll try to update you guys what's happening in Senegal. So guys, we've just come to the end of the World's News Round. Guys, what did you make of some of the stories that we covered today? We covered stories from pretty much all different parts of the globe, really. Some fascinating stories, to say the least, guys. Tell me what you guys thought of all of them in the comment section down below. Let me know your thoughts. Just before you go, if you found this video informative, helpful, if you can, hit the like button, would be greatly appreciated. Share it across social media, hit the bell notification icon, and subscribe, because it really does help support the channel. And of course, if you want to financially support me in the work I do, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Patreon for exclusive content there, or even on Rumble. All the links are in the description down below. And you can also join us on our Discord community, which is completely free as well. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.